Alrighty, picking up with our Civil War review now. We covered sectionalism in the previous one, so in your study guide, you're picking up on question number 8. Simple question, what was the first state to secede? South Carolina. Number 8, South Carolina. Number 9, when and where did the Civil War begin? The Civil War began at Fort Sumter, April 12th, 1861, a little military fort right here. 11 states eventually seceded. What were those 11 states? Well, we have South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia. One more time, double speed. South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia. All right, those are the 11 states to secede and form the Confederacy. Number 11, the border states. Those border states are right here: Missouri, Kentucky, Maryland, and Delaware. That's Missouri, Kentucky, Maryland, and Delaware. Those are states that stayed loyal to the Union. They're still green, stayed with the Union, but they were slave-owning states. So those states, the people that lived there, owned slaves. In 1860, 1861, the beginning of the war, both sides expected a quick victory. Both sides were like, yeah, we're going to dominate. Take that South or take that North, right? We're going to school you. But of course, we know that wasn't quite how it played out. The North especially thought this, right? They had more money. They had more resources. They had more people. They had more railroads. They had more factories. They had a better president. They had more farms. They had more navy, right? Mo money, mo problems. Well, not necessarily in this case, but that is why the North won. Mo money, more resources, and more people. Those are going to be the 3 keys. All right, first major battle of the Civil War, that would be the Battle of Bull Run. And after the Battle of Bull Run, we see that the North and the South, both sides are getting pretty, they're a little uneasy. They're a little unsure at the Battle of Bull Run. And they're thinking, boy, the North, they're thinking we're going to dominate. The South thinking, no, we're going to dominate. And then we finish the Battle of Bull Run, and both sides are going, ooh, this isn't going to be as easy. The South actually won the Battle of Bull Run, as we know, taking place in Virginia. The South actually wins the Battle of Bull Run. The North is shocked, which is number 15. The North is shocked. They're like, oh my gosh, those ragtag rebels doing their rebel yell, ah! Right, the rebel yell that we did in class, right? They were just dumbfounded that the South could defeat them, and going, oh boy, we're in for a long war. All right, so number 16, some ways that the women helped in the war effort. They did it all, right? They were nurses. They were cooks. They, on occasion, were soldiers. Back home, they ran factories. They took care of farms. They raised families. They prepared clothing. They fixed clothing. They grew food. Pretty much anything that a man did during the Civil War, a woman did as well. Yeah, way more men were soldiers than women. It doesn't even compare. We do have the occasional female soldier, but everything that a man could have done to help during the Civil War, a woman did as well. So that's a fairly easy question. Number 17, what was important about the Battle of Antietam? Well, first of all, single bloodiest day of the war right here in Maryland. Single bloodiest day of the war. But also, Maryland stayed loyal to the Union. Maryland did not secede. They were thinking about it. And Europe, way over there, decided to stay out of the war effort. They were thinking of helping the South. They thought, because remember, especially Great Britain, they're pretty mad at the North for that whole American Revolution thing, right? So they were thinking they were going to help the South, but nobody wants to back a loser. Same reason France and Spain stayed out during the American Revolution, until the Americans could prove that they could be strong, right? So at the Battle of Antietam, it keeps Europe out of the war. Describe some hardships that the soldiers faced. Oh my goodness, they are too numerous to list. But the disease and the sickness and the death that constantly surrounds them, and poor equipment and poor shoes and no food or very little food, plus the homesickness, right? But especially, remember when we did our hospital simulation in class, and the amputations and the bloody piles of stumps and things like that. It's just an all-around bad deal. There were no bloody piles of stumps in the classroom. So if you're watching this from some other school and you're going, oh my goodness, they amputated. No. We don't amputate during our Civil War unit. We save that for a later unit. But yeah, so now we're on to number 19. What does the Emancipation Proclamation do? It does not, I repeat, it does not free the slaves in the North. It does not free the slaves in Missouri, Kentucky, Maryland, or Delaware. It frees the slaves in the South. Well, of course, Lincoln tells the South that, and the South is like, whatever, dude, you're not our president. So it's not like all of a sudden, as soon as the Emancipation Proclamation is issued, January 1st, 1863, all the slaves are free. On paper, they are free. In reality, they are not. But more importantly, what it does is Europe decides even more now to stay out of the war because it changes the focus of the war. No longer is the war just about preserving the Union or preserving the marriage of North and South. The focus of the war now shifts to be about slavery. Right? Europe is not going to jump in and fight a war to defend slavery at this point. They're like, we ain't touching that. That is a mess, right? So they stay out of it, and it provides new motivation. Let's see here. So that was number 19. Number 20, what unpopular method did the Union use to get soldiers? The draft, right? It became a poor man's war where the poor people were fighting, the rich people could afford to stay out of it. Number 21, who were the Copperheads? They were a group of Northern Democrats who were opposing the war effort. They were called Copperheads because a copperhead is a kind of a snake. Number 22, why is Gettysburg important? Did we skip? Oh, I skipped number 13. Here it is right now. I'm sorry. Skip number 13. Copperhead reminded me. What was the name of Lincoln's plan to win? The Anaconda plan, right? Squeeze it to death. 3 parts. The first part, a blockade, right? Close off the southern ports. The second part, control the Mississippi River, which they eventually did after the Battle of Vicksburg. And then the third part, take out the Confederate capital at Richmond. And then they just wanted to squeeze, right? If you control the Mississippi River, you cut the Confederacy in part, you blockade them, and you squeeze them, right? That was the Anaconda plan. So that was number 13. Back to number 22 now. Why is Gettysburg considered the turning point of the war? Well, Lee's army, Robert E. Lee's Confederate army, marched north to Gettysburg and were defeated. Lee lost 1/3 of his army in the Battle of Gettysburg and was forced to retreat back into Virginia. The North was not going to offer peace. Lee's forced to retreat back into Virginia, and for the remainder of the war, fights a defensive war. Like, okay, got to keep them out, got to keep them out, got to keep them out. So there we've got that. Explain the Union importance of the battle at Vicksburg. We take Vicksburg. We now control the Mississippi River. We've got the blockade, and we can squeeze. Right, describe total war. William Tecumseh Sherman marched to sea, right? He starts up here in Chattanooga, down to Atlanta, Macon, Savannah, Columbia, Raleigh, Durham. This big, wide, sweeping arc, burning everything in its path. Remember, total war isn't just fighting troops. It's burning down railroads. It's burning factories. It's destroying fields. Total war is attacking everything. It's designed to not only just hurt your enemy, but also hurt them emotionally, beat them down so that they no longer have the will to kill. That was Tecumseh Sherman, 24, in his march to sea. 25, when and where? Appomattox Courthouse, Robert E. Lee, right here, April 9th, 1865, Robert E. Lee surrenders. The Civil War is over. The Civil War is done. The North is victorious. The South has lost. And remember, Grant was very gracious and very kind to the Southern soldiers because now it is time to mend the nation, bring us back together. 25, interesting thing about Wilmer McLean. Remember, the very first battle of Bull Run is fought in his backyard, and Appomattox Courthouse, the peace treaty, is signed in his kitchen. Right? The war literally starts and ends on his property. It starts at Bull Run and ends at Appomattox Courthouse. People, Abraham Lincoln, Union President, Northern President, United States President, issues the Emancipation Proclamation. Jefferson Davis, Southern President, President of the Confederacy. Stonewall Jackson, Confederate General. Robert E. Lee, Confederate General. Ulysses S. Grant, Union General or Northern General. William Tecumseh Sherman, Northern General, Union General. And then Dorothy Dix, one of the ladies we looked at. Miss Dix was responsible for, helping the nursing effort and everything. All right, so there's your study guide, down and dirty, nice and quick. Study it up, be prepared for the test. You will do fantastic!